Hey, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today's video is going to be titled, Are You Giving Your Chickens Their Veggies? And I hope you can see this, and the camera's not all blurry, but it's really important that you give your chickens vegetables. Now, when I mean vegetables, I don't mean you have to go to the grocery store and buy them broccoli per se, but there are tons of edible flowers and weeds that you're possibly overlooking or throwing away in your garden daily. Just some of the things that I give my chickens. And so I introduced them to their weeds and vegetables at a really young age, so they'd have a taste for it. Like literally a week or two old, I started giving them their salad at about, so I give them their usual feed in the morning, first thing out of the coop. And then around between 11 and 1, they get the all-you-can-eat salad bar. And this gives me a chance to walk around the property, pull out any weeds, any extra yellowing leaves, what have you, collect it all in a big bundle, come out to the coop, and toss it in. So what we have in here right now is some lovage from the herb garden, which is like a type of celery. We've got some beet greens. We've got some New Zealand spinach that was overgrowing. We've got some endive that was bolting, and nasturtium. They love nasturtium, both the leaves and the flowers. And some grass, some plantain, which is just a weed, but they love that, both the flowering, the seeds and the leaves of it. And burdock. You know, the weed, yellow dock or burdock, they love both when it goes to seed and the leaves of the burdock. They're both very, very edible. And the thing that's great when the more vegetables and weeds that you give your chickens, it really helps with their omega-3 production in the eggs. And you'll notice a distinctly better flavor to the eggs. And the yolks get this like orange yellow. I mean, like, incredible deep orange color. And I noticed that this is super pronounced in the springtime when I'm giving them the wild clover and the sorrel and what have you. So give your chickens weeds. Another thing you can give them, this is a Chinese mulberry, but mulberry leaves are edible. They're actually really good for you. So they love the mulberry leaves. And herbs. A lot of chickens love herbs. So let's say your herbs have been in the ground for a year or so and they're really overgrowing. Just rip off the ones from the side that you were gonna discard. Maybe you dry them. A lot of people just let them bloom out and go to shit. But here's my raised beds. I just reseeded, as you can tell. I need to do some organizing. But see the endive that's bolting? So instead of pulling that out right away, one of those, when I yank them out, makes a really good meal for the chickens. And they're getting tons of tons of vitamins. Another thing, so these need to be yanked out eventually. That's probably 1.5 to 2-year-old rootstock from Swiss chard. But now all it's doing is bolting and bolting and bolting. So I've been snapping off the flowers, the flowering stems, and eating them, stir frying them, but also feeding them to the chickens. Happy chickens. And you can tell the way they chirp and the way they really go after the greens and the flowers, that they're getting something out of it. They're really enjoying it. I pull my extra mint out and throw it in there. So these are, if you've never planted horseradish, the important thing to know about horseradish is it's very evasive. It will take over. So unless you plan to make and sell or enjoy a lot of horseradish, you want to plant it somewhere that it can go crazy, like mint. The leaves, though, are edible. They're not that great. They're kind of bitter. They're kind of tough, but the chickens love them. And I'm sure they're full of minerals because of how deep the horseradish root goes, would dictate that these are probably similar to when you give your chickens the comfrey and the burdock, because the roots go in the ground so deep, they pull up tons of excellent nutrients from the soil and minerals. You can give them your strawberry leaves that are yellowing. You can give them your old broccoli or kale. They love that. And so the cool thing is also when you've got vegetables that are covered with insects, let's say they've been attacked by aphids and they're just past the point of, you know, of saving or bothering to try to put any kind of insecticide on, just snap them all off. And especially when your chickens are super young, when they were little chicks, I would put the aphid infested broccoli buds into their little brooder, and they could see those little aphids with their eyes, and it was a great snack, and it was a great source of pure protein for them, organic protein, and a great way for them to be introduced to eating, you know, weeds and eating bugs. What else we got out here? Doop-de-doop-de-doo. Here's the lovage I told you about. So lovage is just kind of like a fancy celery. Some people don't like it because it's a little too strong taste of celery, but I find that it makes an excellent celery salt. So I will dehydrate these and powder it and then mix it with a nice quality salt. And my friends say it's fantastic. You can give your chickens thyme. I gave them some of this pineapple sage. This is the New Zealand spinach. If you can't grow spinach and you don't know about New Zealand spinach, this is like a wild spinach. It grows down by the ocean really well for some reason. And it's looking kind of sad right now. I'm not sure why. But once you get this going, it grows like a vine. And it has somewhat of a citrusy flavor to it. But this is excellent to stir fry and a lot easier to grow. And it doesn't bolt, and it's not fussy. It's just this fantastic weed, and it's a vine called New Zealand spinach. Highly recommend it, especially if you live somewhere warm and you struggle growing regular spinach because it bolts too soon for you. You, of course, always grow nasturtium. Nasturtiums, not only are they edible, and they used to use nasturtiums for pepper. The little seed corms have a very distinct peppery flavor to them. Before we had peppercorn, this is what they used as a pepper flavoring. But the chickens love the flowers. They love the leaves, full of vitamin C, blah, 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 blah. Mint, I give them mint. Oh, they love fennel. And as you can see, I have a forest of fennel. And there's all kinds of little bugs on the fennel they like to eat too. And they pick away at that. More Swiss chard bolting. More kale bolting. Oregano, of course. You can't go wrong. Oh, comfrey. Can't live without comfrey. I always throw a couple leaves or a stalk of flowers in there of comfrey. Plenty of thyme. Sometimes I'll toss in a little bit of mugwort, but you don't want to give them too much mugwort because it's a little toxic, but it can also work like a medicine, I think, like an anti-parasite medicine for them. You get the idea. You can feed them just about anything. And the same benefits that we get from it, they get from it. And it really, really improves both their health and gives you, you know, you're not wasting anything, which I love those full cycle rituals that I have in the yard, like my worm composters, that the majority of what doesn't get recycled gets turned into pure soil and worms to feed the chickens and to put back in the garden, which is, I just love that. I love when you're not wasting, and it also makes you more self-sufficient. So the more self-sufficient we can become and the least waste we put out, the better off we're all going to be, and the planet and the future of the kids. Okay, let's say goodbye to the chickens. I'm going to show you one more thing that was a fun success. So you might have seen this in one of my own videos. Maybe this is the first time you're watching one of my videos. When we built this coop, almost all of the coop was built from repurposed materials, which was fantastic. The only thing we had to buy was the actual chicken wire. And instead of just doing a regular floor, when I toss in all these weeds every day, whatever they don't eat starts to decompose, and you can see how it's built up in there because this is a compost floor. It's not just a dirt floor or a straw floor. So I've already used wood chips, organic wood chips, and weeds, and I've been building this up now for a couple months, and it's actually about 4 to 6 inches deep. You really can't see from here. And again, what this is, it's another source of protein for the chickens, because I'm teaching them how to dig around in there, because underneath all of this decomposing matter are tons of worms and insects. And so a couple times a day I'll come out and I'll just like show them how to dig a hole in it, and there's tons of worms and they all go crazy, and we have a bonding experience. Buck buck. And another part of the chicken coop that I think was a really nice design idea was their spa area. And I did a little short of this because I was worried they weren't going to use it, but this is just play sand. So you want to get sand that's not toxic, of course. So it's, I don't think they call it organic, but it's like chemical free or play sand. And I mixed diatomaceous earth in it because that helps to kill parasites on them, or keeps them from even rooting onto their bodies. And what they'll do is they'll come over here and take like great little dust baths in the sand and diatomaceous earth, which is going to help with their quality of life, but also parasite control on the chickens, which I thought was a pretty kind thing to do and a very utilitarian thing to do. That's it. Say bye, girls. Buck buck. They've got about, what did I figure out? They have about, they've been here about 8 weeks. They've got about 15 or 16 weeks before they start making eggs. They're about 6 or 7 weeks old. Oh, did I do that math right? Close enough. I'll let you know when the first eggs come. Bye.